My name is Steve, the Affordable Life Coach. Either you want to be free or you want to use force. Either you want to be told what to do, what to believe, what to obey, or you want critical thinking, independent thought, doing your own research and investigation, and thinking for yourself. Now, obviously, that's a black or white. There's a lot of gray in there, and we fall under the gray category in certain areas of our life. But there's one or the other that's predominantly guiding us and leading us in how we live our lives: force or freedom. And it is especially prevalent in how we lead our lives and how we talk to ourselves. And I've been life coaching for 13 plus years now. And I see it's very interesting because I see so many different personality temperaments. And I notice clients and just people in general, and cultures in general, and countries in general, that we gravitate towards one or the other as being our dominant mode of thinking. So just stay with me here. When we put pressure and force and guilt and shame and obligation and ostracism, what does that do to us as a human being? When you do that to another person or another person does that to you, it shuts us down. It creates bitterness. It creates frustration, sadness, anger. The person feels hurt and rejected. The person is going to be phony and say things they don't really mean or do things they don't really want to do. And it's essentially we squeeze that person into obedience and conformity. And then we can't understand why there's division or disconnection between us. But interestingly enough, we do that to ourselves. And I notice some people, some clients, and even I go through stages where I'll do this to myself as well, is where our primary mode of motivation is the whip and not the carrot. And we want to lose weight, we want to get a better job, we want to change some habits, we want to give up bad habits. And we use the whip, and that whip is, what's wrong with me? Why can't I stick to this? I'm lazy, I'm undisciplined, I should be ashamed of myself. And it's just a lot of negative energy that we bathe ourselves in, and guilt. And then we can't understand why we're unfulfilled, or why we don't stick to things, or why we're unhappy, or why we're stressed or anxious. Because when you're constantly whipping yourself, you're beating yourself down. You're going to feel discouraged, you're going to feel broken, you're going to feel guarded, you're going to feel unmotivated. And there is a place where we can be hard on ourselves in a constructive way. Hey, I made a mistake, or I engaged in behavior I'm not proud of, or wasted the day and wasn't productive and was on watch Netflix all day, or whatever it is. We could say, okay, let's learn and be constructive. What can I do differently? Okay, I need to study in a library and not in the house. Okay, I need to get my most important priorities and tasks done, and then give myself permission to do some of the more pleasurable stuff. But that's not how most of us do it. We shame and guilt ourselves And what happens is we associate that to whatever the activity is. So now it's no longer, I want to do that thing. You want to do that thing. Let's just say exercise. I don't want to exercise. I have to exercise. I should. I must. I need to exercise. And because I'm gaining weight, or I don't look attractive, or I don't feel healthy, I don't feel good about myself, and what's wrong with me because I can't stick to this simple habit of exercising. And then unconsciously, exercise now becomes something painful. Anything that you have to guilt, shame, and pressure yourself to do, you're gonna build resistance. Otherwise, why would you have to and think of it as a negative thing? Otherwise, why would you have to guilt, shame, and pressure yourself? And we never ask ourselves the question, how can I find positive, loving, creative, constructive, motivating ways to do things that I don't want to do, or that I'm resistant towards doing? That I want the end result, but I don't want to pay the price. I don't want to put the effort in. And it's about finding creative ways. So one of my clients, for example, he wants to exercise, but he has a family, he has a job, he's very, very busy, he doesn't have a lot of free time. And so a creative way, hey, exercise with your child. You could go get one of those strollers, go running, go to the park. I suggested getting one of those backpacks and carrying her around in the backpack, go on a hike, go on a walk, go sightseeing. And he's like, yeah, that sounds good. And I could see his energy around exercising when he has a very limited amount of free time now shifted. It becomes something that is no longer seen necessarily as an obligation or a burden or a pressure or that he has to push himself to do. It becomes something that is rewarding because it's time with his child, it's fulfilling, and it's joyful, and at the same time, he is exercising. And it's not healthy for us to use force for so many things that we want to do. And the list of things that I want to accomplish in my life, the habits, the behavioral changes, the list that my clients want to accomplish in their lives is completely unrealistic. It's called optimism bias. We think we can achieve more than we can actually do. And it's also called a planning fallacy, where we don't realistically calculate that we have a limited amount of time and things take much longer than we think it's going to take us. And we just pile so many expectations and responsibilities and changes upon ourselves. And what kind of message does that send to our being or say about it? What does it say about ourselves? I'm not good enough. I'm not doing enough. I'm not productive enough. I don't have enough healthy or successful habits. I have too many bad habits that I need to quit. It's just, again, applying the whip and feeling like we are second-class citizens and we don't deserve to be content, fulfilled, joyful, and have a deep sense of inner peace as we are. We're always in repair mode. That when I do X, Y, and Z, then I'll feel better about myself. And the problem is exacerbated by all the self-development and self-help and productivity gurus on social media, on YouTube, all the books. And it's just kind of in the zeitgeist of our culture that these are good things to strive for. And if you're not doing these things, it means you're falling behind, you're a bad person, you're not good enough. And we see this in the culture and in the political sphere of shaming, guilting, ostracizing, labeling people as bad because they don't believe like we do, or because they have a difference of opinion, or because they want to be independent thinkers. And you're not going to create an ally that way. And you're not going to create an ally when you have a charged, emotional, negative response to somebody on either side of the political spectrum that doesn't agree with what you want them to believe, or what you think they are insane for not believing. Look at your life and how many times you have grown and come to different conclusions and changed your opinion about things that you deeply held in the past, or you deeply believed. And there's a form of self-righteousness, arrogance, egotism when we want people to fall in line to whatever is popular, or whatever is in vogue, or is trending, or is socially acceptable at this slice of time in our culture and society. And if someone is treating you like that, first of all, walk away. They're just there's a lot of anger, and they want to project that anger onto you. And just walk away and move on, and find people that are emotionally stable, that you can have healthy dialogues with, even disagree with in a constructive, healthy way, and that you can form a deep connection. But just be careful not to use what you disdain what other people do that to you, and applying that to yourself. We are our own worst enemy oftentimes, and we are such harsh critics. We are human. You are probably not going to succeed. I'm just throwing out a number. 2/3 of all the goals and dreams and desires that you have. And 1/3 is probably a generous estimate. I mean, just ask people when they're younger, all the things they wanted to be, and then ask them, when they're in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, and see how many of all their dreams came true. We set lofty dreams, lofty goals, lofty, unrealistically high expectations upon ourselves because we don't feel good about ourselves. And the culture and society feeds into that. But it's also made infinitely worse because we have no spiritual life. Not everyone. A lot of us do. But I'm saying in general, as a culture, as a society, spirituality is not the foundation that we rest upon. So we can have a deep sense of calm, a deep sense of comfort, a deep sense of contentment, a deep sense of courage and love, and things are going to be okay, and I don't need to control myself like a dog on a collar, on a leash. I can have a surrender and acceptance, and more importantly, a gratitude with my life and who I am right here and now. One of my most popular video is the Life Sucks video. If the video was titled Life is Wonderful, it would have gotten a fraction of the views. And we as human beings are much more reactive to the negative. And we are much more, it's automatic, much more likely to criticize ourselves and beat ourselves up than to be gentle, loving, caring, and encouraging with ourselves. That takes effort. And I'm not talking about in a narcissistic way, but it takes effort to be gentle and loving with ourselves. And a lot of the comments in that video is life sucks, things are terrible, I hate this, I hate that, I hate people. And you can see one, there's a spiritual void there, and two, what you show the world, what you put out into the world, is a complete reflection of what you have inside. That's why when you see someone, an angry, unhappy, miserable person that blames everybody else or blames other situations, they're revealing who they are and what's inside. And oftentimes it's just pain, hurt, rejection, anger, sadness, frustration. And your environment is a mirror. What your environment reflects back to you, if you're getting reflected back angry, disapproving, judgmental, critical, or negative energy, you got to ask yourself, am I putting that out? Well, it might be just speaking the truth, you're going to get that back. But many times that's not the case. It's just we have pain in our heart, in our soul, and we're looking for a place to displace it. And the easiest way to do that is point a finger and call the others. Those people, that political party, that particular group, those coworkers, they're the ones who are responsible and are for my hurt and my pain. And we want to just take ownership and put out the energy that's within us, but we can't put out positive, loving, kind, gentle energy and courageous. I'm not saying we have to people please and stuff like that. You know if you watch my videos. But we can't become that type of person if we don't treat ourselves well. And I'm not talking about saying affirmations, I love myself, I'm a wonderful person, or I like myself and I'm successful and I'm happy. It's really that inner critic and that oftentimes the tormentor that lives between our ears that is we're constantly feeding, agreeing with, enlarging, energizing, instead of just observing. Because it's really hard, if not impossible, to get rid of that harsh inner critic. But you could always see when people are harsh and critical of other people, they're harsh and critical with themselves. It's a real indicator which people to avoid or which people, hey, you might just want to give a hug and give some love and say, hey, you know what, you're okay as you are. You don't need to be so hard and judgmental and critical with yourself. And that's what we want. Like, we always think contentment and inner peace and self-acceptance lies in achieving something outside of ourselves, something in the physical world. And it's really a spiritual sickness that we have, and it's the way that we talk and treat ourselves, and the way we overwhelm ourselves with all this laundry list of all the things we have to fix and change and what is broken about us. And it's almost like, hey, if I fix all these things, the world will love me. And if the world loves me, then I'll love myself. And you're handicapping yourself. Start with loving and accepting yourself as you are, and look at self-development and growth as exciting, as adventurous, as a journey, as a path. At each step, there's something very rewarding about it, but not I have to reach a destination and arrive and then I'll feel good about myself or feel good about life. Create the life that you want in your current circumstances. And if you're spiritually focused, there's not a lot that you need to focus and waste energy on changing the external world. You start with yourself, and that's where that deep inner peace and calm and joy comes from, when we focus on things like God, focus things like prayer, focus in things like spending time in nature, focus in things on self-reflection through journaling, spend time on things like reading insightful, provocative, thought-provoking books that give us a new way to look at the world or look at life. Spend time just being bored, spend time in silence. That's what's missing in our society, our culture, and in our lives personally. And when we feed that, you start seeing your external world starts just blossoming, opening up, and your inner world as well. You just don't need that much. You realize you don't need that much to be fulfilled and to be content and to be at peace. So if you're interested in help along this journey, send me an email. My email address is in the description, and the consultation is absolutely free. And there's no obligation. The prices are ridiculously low. And if you like these types of videos, please consider subscribing, liking. And if you want to support the channel, there's a PayPal link. Even a small amount is greatly appreciated. And I hope these types of messages resonate with you, and that you look at it as, with age, not always, but oftentimes with age comes wisdom. And the beautiful thing about the state of our world today is it encourages us to go within, because it's so chaotic and divisive, and there's so much anger and hatred and just unrest. And that in itself should shine the light that the only thing that we truly have control of is in here, and how we respond to a chaotic world. And it really sets us free. Thanks for watching. Appreciate your comments and look forward to the next video. Bye-bye.